You know what I need? Need a little upper decky. What up, YouTube? Long time no see. It's been a couple months since I've been on the tube, and I'll tell you what, I've been pretty busy. Farming some hair, pouring some concrete. Currently, right now, I have a big flesh wound on my leg, so I will not be doing any skateboarding tonight, but I do have some cool shit to talk about. Some cool shit. It took me a while to formulate what I was thinking and put it into words, so forgive me if it's not quite clear and concise. Let's get into it. Right now in skateboarding, there is a feeling that we as a culture are ready for some chill, laid back vibes. Some 5-0s and front pops, chilling with the homies, local vibes. Something about seeing a rider's style in simple form is very inspiring to me, and it makes me want to get in my little bag of tricks. You know, and when the vibe's just right, it's an all-time environment to be in. That is a form of consuming skateboarding. You know, the best way of consuming skateboarding, I'd say, is hanging out with the boys, getting some tricks in, but let's just say what we consume in skateboarding is the master switch. It shows what we want as consumers in our products and our content, what we expect from the businesses in skateboarding. How a skate company reacts to the ever-changing landscape that is skate culture, it can be positive or negative to the growth of the business. Looking back at the history of skateboarding, two ideologies really stand out. One idea is to focus at the local level and create gatherings and promotions, allowing small groups of individuals in small areas to flourish. And the other idea is so full of riches and fame that it is near impossible for a mortal man to turn it down. Let's break down each of these ideologies and decide which one is going to benefit skateboard in the long run. Which one guarantees skateboard survival? Does it lie on one side or the other, or somewhere in the sweet middle, you know, the balance of life? First and foremost, every skateboarder feels as if they are core. They believe they are core. So let's take a look at core skateboarding philosophy, or the stewardship model, as it can be referred to as. This means you feel as you are a caretaker of skateboarding. You see skateboarding as a culture first and a business second. Core skaters have a belief that skate culture should be controlled commercially and culturally by skateboarders, people who actually are skateboarders. And that belief comes from skateboarding's beginnings. Skateboarding grew for decades without outside approval. Schools banned it. Cities skate-proofed features. Parents always worried about it. Historically, skateboarding is not something, or was not something, to consume. It was something to do. You don't need permission. You don't need a coach. You don't need a league. You don't need to find a league, and you don't need a dedicated spot like basketball or baseball. You can just grab your board and go. We each interpret the world in our own way. As a skateboarder, you stop seeing the world as accessible features that are there to help people, and like you see a handrail as proving ground, and a curb becomes a playground, and a sidewalk gap is a challenge. You know, like these things all of a sudden just start popping out to you, and you can't unsee it once you see it. Most mainstream sports don't have that individuality. Skateboarding developed a strong independent community. Small empires were built off of independent skateboarders' hard work. The hard work the skaters were putting in themselves was returning a reward. Some more examples of a core mentality are, especially in consumerism, you believe supporting your local skate shop is the golden rule to sustain skateboarding's future. Supporting local skate shops and local spots grants the community something special, and that is authenticity. It develops your style, I will say. You are kind of a product of your environment. All that local, just abundance of local, tangible life that you can create just from skateboarding is the authenticity. Many core skateboarders worry that when skateboarding becomes too commercialized. And when people start consuming skateboarding content more than actually participating, skateboarding will lose its lust for progress. Companies like Real, Girl, Baker, Independent, Volcom's another one that comes to mind. These are some awesome companies that come to mind when thinking of stewards of the culture. These companies are great examples at demonstrating core values, like they offer legit products that are unique and affordable. Everybody's kind of in their own lane, you can say. They travel the country and put on live demos and have pros there for anybody in town to come meet, letting team riders have real influence on the brand's identity. When a rider has an influence on brand identity, it translates into more like-minded people being in a group and allowing customers to gravitate towards this group and this group. And an example of that is Zero versus DGK. So just thinking, deep trusts in brands like Girl and Independent stem from being created by people who actually skated. I think that's an important part about being a skateboarder, because it's never about being famous. It's just about enjoying the ride. And if you can make money off of doing it, man, congratulations. So, another thing core skateboarders idolize is raw, unedited, unfiltered, real life takes. There's always progression when doing a trick and creating a project. I won't say that core wants to see the pain because suffering is the best entertainment, but because pushing your mental and physical limitations is often not pretty. Perseverance, creativity, individual style, problem solving. These are 4 skills that are sharpened and the rewards of being a skateboarder. Landing the trick is not the most important part. How you get there matters, and that's why 2 skateboarders can do the exact same trick on the exact same spot, and one clip can feel legendary while the other clip feels forgettable. So what makes a core skateboarder? Skateboarding should be directly controlled by skateboarders rather than whoever can make the most money off of it. That's simple truth. Core skater philosophy needed to be covered first, because to understand this competing mindset, it's core on steroids. So let's call it mainstream growth philosophy, or the expansion model. It means people view skateboarding as a scalable consumer market. The philosophy in expansion is building a broader audience. In skateboarding, it grows skateboarding, and when skateboarding grows, everybody wins. Expansion is a fine line to balance in the business of skateboarding, because it's looked at as a responsibility to grow a company. But when making money is the goal in skateboarding and it's not an expression of your creativity, I feel like that's when the line is crossed. You have to grow to truly be successful. You have to scale year after year. Growth is looked at as a responsibility. Bringing people into skateboarding and reaching bigger audiences is a way to expand opportunities, aka more money. This way of operating in skateboarding can result in local skate shops being overlooked for larger brand partnerships. Walmart and Target are great examples of those pre-made boards are absolute trash. They're some of the worst equipment you can get your hands on, and anyone that has to skate one, I'm sorry. So they are worthless, and yet they exist because some suit said that was a good idea, and it's not. Another consequence of expansion inside of skateboarding is the commercialization of skateboarders. Like, think of Tony Hawk as the king example, but not the only. There's others like Paul Rodriguez, Rob Dyrdek, Steve Barra. They're all great case studies to really understand why mainstream growth has historically been rough on skateboarding. Well, let's just say Tony Hawk and Rob Dyrdek both have brought millions of eyes and dollars into skateboarding, and with that contribution, they've created careers in skate parks and products, and they both have put their stamps on skateboarding, the culture of skateboarding. I've really got no beef with that level of responsible expansion. Others who have tried to follow in their footsteps, I can't really say the same about. Paul Rodriguez has the most toxic brand of what the fuck shit I've ever seen. Primitive's collabs are absolute brain rot, and they belong in the nearest garbage bin. Mikey Taylor is another lost soul in the expansion model. Nobody wants his financial advice. or his real estate or his stock advice. Steve Barra, I was fully in on the barracks, but somewhere along the way something changed, and the warehouse got bigger, the ads got bigger, and the content got shorter and smaller. Truly, actually, I should say the final nail in the coffin was Battle of the Barracks series, especially season 12 or 13. That shit was unwatchable. It was boiling with controversies of rigging matches. Steve Barra nowadays is looked at as one of the bigger sellouts in skateboarding. Anyways, enough slander about some rad dudes. No hate. It's just allowing CEOs and shareholders to make decisions has led us into some garbage land, some dark times in skateboarding. Making culture-defining decisions is not something that can be looked at with a money filter. A great example of this is Chris Jocelyn's El Toro's tray. Yeah, this is an example of growth mindset, I feel like, because everything's now bigger, better. It brought millions of eyes into skateboarding, back into skateboarding, new eyes into skateboarding. It's an insane trick being done, and it's hurting skate history, because this was something so legendary. This tray flip was so legendary. It turned into another clip, another thing to scroll past on my FYP. It could have been something special, something just for us. And it's still a moment, and it's not a moment it could have been for full-length films. It could have really brought them back. I feel like this is a line in skateboarding that needs to be drawn to protect the culture. I feel like it's becoming more important for people to stand up and preserve. Can't believe I'm saying this. I don't want paywalls and shit, but we can't just be having the best clips ever come out in 100 fucking ways. All right. So let's take a minute to define what culture is in skateboarding, at least to me. I've spent a lot of time thinking about this and why it matters, because a lot of people, including myself, struggle to define the culture we're defending, okay? So I don't think when we're defending skateboarding, we're saying that I'm an outcast or we are too cool, and we aren't trying to gatekeep for the sake of gatekeeping. I think what most skaters accidentally fall into is, I was here first and you're doing it wrong, and this is how you do it. You're not a real skateboarder. And most core skateboarders don't ever deal with that thought process, at least if you mature a little bit. But when skateboarding becomes too commercialized, too wrapped up in brands and products obsessed, people start consuming skateboarding as a content more than participating, like I kind of touched on earlier. Sometimes it's gatekeeping that will save skateboarding, So it's important to assume that skateboarders are not asking, how do we keep people out? We are asking, how do we let more people in without losing what made skateboarding special? So it's a creative, self-directed pursuit where authenticity comes from participation rather than consumption. And that's why riding the skateboard matters, promoting your local scene matters, supporting your local skate shop matters, and your style matters. So many skaters care who owns the companies they support, because it could preserve or damage the thing we love and what we know. So the culture just isn't just tricks. It's a belief that skateboarding primarily belongs to the people who actively do it. To simply summarize this video into 3 words, skate or die, motherfucker. So I had asked a question earlier, which philosophy is going to take skateboarding the distance, allowing it to grow naturally and progress? Let's assess the kind of what we got here. So I would say the truth is, it's not really black and white. It's a little bit gray, and that's what makes this topic so hard to grasp. So to become a successful skate business, you need to blend both philosophies. You need to be like Vans, who became huge, but maintain deep roots in skateboarding. They're for everybody, but everybody knows their skate shoes. So Thrasher is a global brand. All the celebrities wear them, but everybody knows it's a skate brand. Girl, they've built a strong business that survived waves and waves of businesses failing and coming up and failing, and they've never abandoned who they are. That's a skate company. Struggling companies often are ones that go too far in either directions, so core that they can't survive financially, or so corporate that they lose credibility. I think Kariuma. The tension, culture versus growth, has been the defining business battle in skateboarding since the 1980s. Like, are you building an audience or are you building a scene? So the strongest skate brands usually find a way to do both, and that fits so perfectly in what I've learned is the balance of life. You know, life is a balance. It's a balancing act. It's hard to do. So thanks so much for watching this long ass video. I've had this concept in my mind for so long, and I've had a hard time finding the words. So regardless, I need to hear what you guys, my viewers, feel about this. Are you core or corporate? Why? You know, I'd love to hear from both sides, but please consider hitting the like button and giving this channel a subscribe. From the skate room, I'm P Life. Peace.